glitch here. But good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Joy. I'm the Executive Director of ULI Toronto. And once again, thank you to day 5 of ULI Toronto's special 5-part lunch webinar series during this National Housing Week. In fact, today is National Housing Day, so happy National Housing Day, I guess. And the title, of course, of this suite of programs is Broadening the Affordable Housing Discussion, which today we'll deliver on as well. As always, we begin with a land acknowledgement. As a Toronto region-based organization, we acknowledge that the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We'd also like to acknowledge and honor those who've come here involuntarily, particularly descendants from those brought here through enslavement. To better understand the meaning behind this land acknowledgement and what ULI does to drive meaning behind this land acknowledgement at the intersection of real estate and truth and reconciliation, we recommend programs that you can find on our ULI website page, and stay tuned to ULI for opportunities for you to get engaged with our journey with truth and reconciliation. Today's event and all other ULI programming would not be possible without the support of ULI's annual sponsors. And for them, we'd like to express our gratitude for that support. Now, more than ever, ULI relies on the support of our sponsors to put on high-quality programs to drive our mission to shape the future of the built environment for transformative impact in communities worldwide. To all our sponsors, we say thank you. Okay, let's shift to today's program. And as a twist, today I will be not only your host, but your moderator. So innovation, the title for today is Broadening the Toolkit of Ideas. And the abstract reads, innovation driven by the urgent need to address the escalating housing affordability crisis is sparking a wave of transformative housing models, both new and revitalized, that are reshaping the landscape of real estate solutions. So in this, our final sessions, we will complete this series with what we're calling kind of a quasi-Dragon's Den style showcase of some alternative housing models that hold promise for the future. As always, we hope to have a room for some audience Q&A, which we probably will have time for today, but recognize that we sometimes do get squeezed for time, and I apologize. But please bring those questions in, because they're always very, very helpful to us in thinking about future programming. So today, it's my pleasure to introduce 4 panelists. Robert Bernard, founder of Toboggan Flats; Andrew Barrett, Chief Investment Officer of Spotlight Developments; Frank Cho, Special Advisor of the Mong Shong Foundation; and Mike LeBay, President and CEO of Home Opportunities nonprofit. I'm going to ask, the format today will be, I'm going to give up to 10 minutes for each of our guests to speak to their model. And then we're going to ask a few questions, and again, looking to the audience Q&A for some prompts that we can put to our panel. So we're going to start with Robert. And Robert, over to you. I think you're going to share your slides. So we'll take ours off, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thanks so much, Richard. Thanks for everyone being here. I'm just going to move to the slideshow feature. Can everyone see that? Hopefully they can. Toboggan Flats, really, really glad to be here to tell you a little bit about it, and I'll make sure I keep to my 10 minutes or less. So let's start with where the need is and the opportunity. The focus for Toboggan Flats is to really increase affordable housing supply for young professionals downtown in our major cities across Canada. We also want to make sure we're creating a positive return for building owners and investors along the process. So it's a for-profit impact investment company that we're looking at that we're launching. Secondary opportunities are really important, though. We have a really huge, as we hear about, I think at every ULI meeting, got a huge office vacancy challenge still in Canada, especially in the B and C class buildings, and that is hollowing out downtowns. It's really slowing economic development downtown. We also have a lot of stuck developments on the purpose-built side for housing. We've got tightening government resources. We've got a real search for positive climate action and reducing greenhouse gases. And finally, which is unexpected in some of these presentations, we have a deepening loneliness epidemic in Canada, especially amongst young people, which surprises many. So Toboggan Flats, we want to do 5 things. First, create a flexible co-living model for young professionals. We want to find, design, build co-living and repurpose vacant office space and future residential and other future residential developments. We're going to work with government and agencies for incentives and approvals, fill the co-living space with young professionals, bringing those really vibrant young people downtown and manage the operations as we move forward. Here's what co-living looks like around the world. And this slide, I just don't understand. This is a 10-year-old industry when we think about putting co-living into developments. In the UK, 25,000 beds already. In Europe, 23,000, many more in progress. We've got India and China, 500,000. Singapore, population of only 5 million, about the same size as Toronto, already has 8,000 in development. United States, 36,000. I didn't even get into South America, which is well ahead. In Canada, I think we've been able to count 300. This is a $100 billion industry around the world. And in Canada, it's just a black hole. So we're really looking to boost that. We want to combine a Toboggan Flats co-living model, hopefully taking Canada by storm. We want to combine private, safe, fully furnished rooms with shared facilities. Occupants are members because they want to be when we talk to young people. They want to have the flexibility and benefits that comes along with that. We are actually building a sense of community in each of these spaces with dedicated staff just focused on that. Compared to purpose-built rental, co-living offers lower cost to build, especially in the conversion model. It's a slightly higher cost to operate because of the community model that we've put in, higher occupancy rate and faster stabilization. So let's take a look at what a development might look like. So you can see 3 colors on this. This is a building that we're looking at. This particular building's 10 floors, fully vacant. And you've got 3 communities in the building. We've got the blue community, we call it a flat. So that's you and your 8 to 10 friends that you're living with, building a community with, all downtown. Pink and yellow, all separate communities, separate access. But this is really a community, which is great. But what's amazing on this model is we've got an estimate of construction on this site at 8 months from permit to have housing. That speed means it's cheaper, and we're reusing the building, so it's actually better for the environment. So faster, better, cheaper, and ultimately cleaner is the goal. Our approach to governments is really to say we need to put young people first. We need to get young people downtown. We need to push the economic development agenda. And if you want to have good, affordable, environmentally friendly housing, that's exactly what Toboggan Flats is providing. So that's where we're pushing the model. The other thing is a lot of young people are living and co-living now, and those houses could go to other purposes. So we see that as a really big opportunity to relieve the pressure. A little bit more about the young professional audience, 20 to 34-year-olds, 29% are already living and co-living in houses in major cities. They want to save money. They want to be less lonely. They want to live downtown. In fact, when we talked to them about Toboggan Flats in 15 cities across Canada, 41% said they were interested in the model. And this is a very desirable group as a tenant. These are the most educated group we have in society. They're motivated and they're eager to contribute. So the focus of Toboggan Flats, comprehensive co-living model, offering end-to-end solutions. We want to find, assess, design, approve, build, find members, create community, manage, and then repeat that. We could do the management only. We're looking at leasing models. We'll even work with other developers to buy the building and turn it into Toboggan Flats. we've got strengths. Myself and others, we've got a lot of experience working with young professionals, working with governments, integrating global expertise in this 10-year-old industry, and really building an unparalleled team with us. That's just an example of some of the people, including Richard, who's on our team of advisors. What I love about we've also got this great group of young people who are working with us, advising us on how to design this toboggan flats to make sure it's successful for them, which is really the key for us. And snowball effect, more cities, more people. Student flats were currently our kind of main flats, and potentially premium flats as well across cities, across the country, and beyond. How does it compare to the purpose-built rental? Well, it's cheaper. Look at the hard cost, $200. Soft costs, $34 on average from our assessment so far. And we've assessed about 5 million square feet across Canada. Stabilization period for co-living is days, not months. And it's financially viable at affordable rental. That's the key. Costs us about $70,000 per unit of housing to get toboggan flats off the ground. So that's toboggan flats, and looking forward to all your questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I should just say I'm very proud to be asked to be an advisor, but just to everybody listening, I have no financial interest
No.
in toboggan flats. So I'm just happy to be a wall to bounce off as I would be with anybody. The maybe I guess a few questions that come to mind, and I'm sure there'll be some better questions from the audience. But just quickly before we go to our next speaker, who do you expect to help you finance this? You showed us some interesting numbers, very viable. It checks out with what I've heard in other jurisdictions like Europe as to how you can really drive the cost down using this model. But who might be your investors, or who do you need to support this to enable you to go forward?
Yeah, great question, Richard. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, thanks for clarifying on the advisor side. I always want to acknowledge the people who help us the most. And there's so many people who've really rallied around toboggan flats because there's such a huge need for affordable housing. So, and similarly on the investor side. So investors coming from private investors, we're looking at, family office investors. And I think when we look at the whole package, it's, we also want to make sure that we include government investors in this as well, and that could be through incentives and other pieces. And the final one is those who own the building. So whether a building owner is giving the usual tenant improvement package for what we're calling this repurposing of office space, and other mechanisms that the owners of the buildings can get involved. So it's all hands on deck to make sure that we can build affordable housing. As long as we can give a good rate of return to the owner of the building and to the investors in toboggan flats, that's key, and ultimately really good housing for young professionals downtown.
Just another quick question, then I will move over to the next panelist, which will be Andrew. So heads up. But Stephen O'Hagan's got a couple of questions. I'm just going to collapse them into kind of what kind of public, we mentioned what kind of public policy zoning is this something that actually is friendly to zoning in terms of office conversion and of course building and fire code, or any other hurdles do you have? Are these things that you have yet to surmount fully?
And with respect to those speakers, I'll be very quick. So the first is, we're looking at the commercial residential zone for all the buildings. So it's already zoned in a commercial zone. In fact, in a lot of places, we're not even, don't expect much of a variance, if at all, based on we've in downtown Toronto, for example, 10 different buildings that we're looking at. On the other pieces, we're actually dropping, if you're an office building, we're actually dropping the density of the building by almost half or a third. So all the codes that initial building was set for human, fire codes, everything else, we're good. We're good with.
Terrific. Okay, we will probably come back to some more questions, but Andrew, as promised, you're up next. So Andrew Garrett, Chief Investment Officer of Spotlight Development Inc., is our next speaker. And Andrew, over to you.
Thanks for having me. I wanted to talk today about inclusive as an area that we're working on at Spotlight Development, and explain a little bit about how we're approaching affordable housing development in a new build perspective. And given my background, I thought I'd go through it a little bit like in a pro forma and talk about scale, as Richard had asked about, revenue, cost, financing, and return. And so from a scale point of view, the inclusive is looking to leverage already land owned by Spotlight Developments that is ready and in different stages of development readiness for new build, multifamily development. And so in their model, we're targeting to do as a base case 30% affordable housing, looking to increase that percentage depending on the amount of incentives we're able to get from various municipalities, and 40% middle income and 30% market uh, in our mixed use high-rise developments. And we have access to a pipeline of about 10,000 new build units. And you know, do the math on that, you can get, we're talking about, you know, 3,000 pipeline in terms of supply for affordable housing at our base case assumption. In terms of the revenue, I think we're looking at,
Just one second, Andrew.
yep,
Are we just wanting to make sure that screens are following you? We're still staring at one screen? Should
sure.
we be moving
You can go to
forward?
the next one if you want.
Oh, so I just want to make sure we were following you. Okay,
Yeah, not a
you will
problem.
tell us. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this is a good one to have a little look at our revenue model in terms of, I think we're taking the traditional condo development model where you may have a presentation center selling to all people. Uh, we are looking at, and there's a focus, I would say, on investors buying the units and maybe potentially renting them out, potentially moving in, or potentially flipping and selling them. And so we're taking a real end user focus on these various groups and talking to the various not-for-profit areas and working to partner with them. And they have lists of demand and people looking for affordable housing. And so instead of a presentation center for investors, we're working on basically more of a marketing approach of having workshop and information sessions that are leveraging high tech in terms of having applications that help direct people as to what might be a pathway to affordability for them, whether that's down payment assistance, whether that's accessing various subsidies and grants that they might have. And then there's also a high touch element. And so, you know, we through the years have built up relationships with various not-for-profits and know that a lot of cases there needs to be high touch and outreach from professionals who've been in the affordability space for decades and working with individuals and families to find those pathways of affordability. And a lot of those pathways in our model, whether it's for rent or for sale, are focused in making things easier for individual and families. In for sale, generally, where we're looking to help people is with that down payment assistance. We find a lot of people can find ways to manage mortgages and monthly costs, but the down payments have just been astronomically large, particularly in our big markets. So we're showing pathways to shared equity mortgages, co-investment groups, and we're setting that up in advance for people to go through. So as opposed to people coming into a presentation center and being shown floor plans and models, we're showing them pathways to affordability that might fit their particular situation. And then to move on to a little bit to talk about the cost model we're looking at, it's like where the savings, I know, to come along to be able to afford um, developing at a price that makes sense and you can afford to sell and rent units at an affordable level. And we have a philosophy of not having a poor door. So there's no distinction in our development specs that says in a for rental building where we have affordable, attainable, and market, that we have three different levels of finishes and really try to um, make up by saving and cutting costs to solve the affordability challenge. Um, we're going to be the spotlight will be a development manager for inclusive projects, and we'll use very reputable builders of quality, such as Delterra, to be construction managers on these projects. And again, they will have the same specs for the market as they do have the affordable homes. And so the area on the cost structure that we're really focusing in to find savings to create affordability is development charges. As everyone knows, that's a huge cost and huge escalating cost, and looking to have a structure that helps reduce the development costs on our sites. And the marketing and broker commissions budgets, those are large budgets on developments. And again, moving away from the conventional presentation center, we're looking to use those budgets to, again, help families and individuals with subsidies or down payment assistance. And also working with nonprofits that have some trapped allocations. And so that what we're finding as we talk to different groups is they have allocations or access um, to equity for these types of affordable programs, but don't have the development arm or expertise to build it out. And so we're developing those relationships where we can bring matching funds to help unlock some of that trapped allocation for affordability and impact investing. From a financing point of view, I'd say there's nothing too different in our model in terms of financing. I would say in our rental program, we're certainly focused on CMHC, as I think a lot of conventional developers and builders are. That the rental model is challenged, so CMHC tends to be the best avenue in terms of financing there. And again, still working with different municipalities as they have their own affordability incentives, where at the forefront of applying and getting in front of those opportunities. And also, I would say in terms of returns, we have a fiduciary mindset. So I have a background coming in from the pension and institutional development world, and you need to earn, a market return to be able to attract capital to build thousands of units. So we're looking to partner with private sector investors and offer them a premium return that is a low double digit. And so some components that could be fixed, some of that participating. And we feel that's going to be the most sustainable way for us to move forward. And a lot of these groups have large national portfolios that are underweight in the residential sector. That, for decades had lots of exposure to office and retail, and now looking for ways to get into residential at scale. So we look to be a solution for that for them. But again, they can't do that as a fiduciary at a concessionary return. So we're blending the for sale and the rental proceeds to, again, create affordability and pathways of affordability on the revenue side, but also to work with investors at scale that want to enter into this area. And I think I'll leave that at that.
Well, maybe put the screen
Yeah,
back up again. And
yeah,
we saw all your screens, right?
yeah, that's everything.
I just wanted to understand, and I'm admittedly not the quickest on the numbers, but just as a numbers person yourself, as somebody who understands this world, as you said, particularly from an institutional investor perspective, can you just uh, kind of take another crack at helping us understand this slide in terms of how you stack the various different pieces together to get to that level of affordability?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Richard. I think I didn't talk to it as much before, but what we're doing is we've come up with about 6 or 7 of these diagrams of different pathways to affordability. This pathway highlights us finding, and this is as you look at the dollars here, we're talking about Kitchener-Waterloo area, which is a bit lower medium price and affordability price than in a GTA area, but it's a way where the purchasing power doesn't of someone with a median salary or affordable salary isn't enough to be able to buy and get into ownership. And so what we're doing is by accessing different levers, we're increasing someone's purchasing power, which might sit at $430,000 for a suite, and working with the Trillium model, working with the regions grants, getting them to be able to afford something that's closer to $500,000 a suite, and also putting them in a position where instead of a 20% down payment, they have a 5% down payment. And so that's how this model is working here, where the purchaser has a 5% down payment. They are working with, they're getting some down payment assistance through the regional Waterloo, through their down payment assistance program, which adds another 5%. And 10% in this model is a Trillium housing model, where Trillium provides an interest-free loan, and then they get a percentage of in return for the proceeds once the unit is sold in the future. And so, and in this gain, you can go with a traditional lender and not have any uh, unconventional financing to be able to do this. So this allows a purchaser to go from I can't afford in my region to increasing their purchasing power and reducing their down payment um, input.
Okay, I have a couple other questions. There's one on the in the Q&A. Is first of all, is the I'm gonna actually 3 quick questions I'll package into one. Regional Waterloo 5% down payment assistance program, is that unique to Waterloo, or other municipalities offering similar kinds of programs? Number two, I don't see other levels of government in here. Is there room for other levels of government to come into your capital stack through whatever assessments? I'd be interested to understand. And third is, Trillium Housing may not be something an entity familiar to everybody on our program today. So maybe you could quickly explain that, and then I'll go to the quick question. Then we're going to move over to Frank.
Okay, I tried to write those down, Richard, but I would say in terms of the municipality, no, it's not a unique to just Waterloo. I think Waterloo has certainly come up with this because they have some ambitious programs in addressing the affordable housing crisis. And so, but we do see other municipalities looking to also help in the down payment assistance, because I think some municipalities are more focused on rental, but some are open to for sale as well. So, as I said, not unique, but certainly a focus for them, particularly in a market where they have a dearth of affordable supply. In terms of other levels of government, so again, where we started with our model is we're starting at 30%, and as government or different levels of government are providing incentives, we're looking to add and increase the scale of affordability we can add to our model. So for every new program or any new announcement that we're seeing throughout Ontario, we're able to potentially slide the ruler on our pro forma from 30% affordable to 40% or 50%. It's just depending on what actually materializes from the different levels of government. So I think the more partnership we get at the different levels, the higher our model goes in terms of available uh, uh, affordability added. In terms of, so that's the other, and I'd say Trillium, as I said, some people are familiar with it, some are not, but we have some of our board advisors. It's just as you're kind of working out and helping out in the thought area there. We have Joe from Trillium Housing, who's one of our board advisors, and basically this is a program where people can get down payment assistance on an and get an interest-free loan to help subsidize start of their down payment. So that really is a program that's available throughout Ontario, and we're taking that and building that into our model. And there are other models as well where there's shared equity mortgages and rent to own models as well that again help create more pathways to affordability for more people.
Okay, I am going to come to Canal's question later if I can. Just want to get on the board our next two presenters. Just make sure we don't run out of time. So Canal, sorry, I put my questions in front of yours. I shouldn't have done that. In any event, next up is Frank, and Frank Cho, who's the special advisor of the Mon Xiong Foundation. I am sure that I mispronounced that. So Frank, you will properly pronounce that. And I met you, Frank, at a round table with Mayor Olivia Chow roughly a month ago or so. And I thought, now your program I don't think is new, but it is very much in existence, and I think it's something that could be expanded. And I was intrigued, and I thought, let's bring you into this webinar. So I'm very grateful that you're giving us the time to do that. So Frank, if you're able to, I think you have one slide, but over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to make sure my audio is okay because
yes, it is. It is now. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Thank you.
First of all, I saw the two presenters and they are good products. I think in our case, Mon Xiong Foundation is operate quite differently because we are serving the old and the young. And for the old, we have the long-term care and we have senior apartments. So the reason why I have this LL model, maybe I give you a little bit of a history so that you know how we come about. We are a charity that have no income other than donations. So in order to satisfy the waiting list that we have in thousands, we need a lot of capital to build long-term care. So where can we find donations or money? And government will not give you money. So we have to do it our own. With that in mind, we were looking at other areas of the old seniors where we can serve better. And we look at the mobile seniors, where the bundle, especially the baby boomers coming in. So we know that if we can design and build something they need, and with all the programs, all free to them, and all the advices give to them, all free, and they live together to enjoy life, maybe they would like it. So we tried this in Scarborough, Medical and Kennedy. We tried it out because we are not sure whether it was a market or not. And we put it out pre-sale, and by golly, you know, in 3 months is all gone. And we know that we are on the right track. So the reason for doing this.
When did that happen? What are we talking about?
2008.
Okay, 2008.
Yeah. Well, we planned 2005. So we know if they like it, then we build it, we make a surplus. Then if we have this surplus, then we can accumulate this so that we can build LTC. So this is the start of that. And we are taking a chance, and we want to be sure that is the case. So we pre-sale 80%, 90%, and then we know that is for sure is okay. Now, the other thing is we look at is what kind of format that we should be for this type of sales to seniors. We find out that Lively's is one that is already in existence, but it's good model for us because for life lease, the deposit you receive from the purchaser, you can use it for constructions. So it's saving a lot of money for the construction. And then when they close the deal, there's no transfer tax. So the seniors are happy. They save a lot of money. And the closing, because of no mortgage documents, again, is very cheap. So all in all, we're going to make sure that the cost is affordable, as well as the maintenance cost is way below any condominium units. So this is the thing that we have done in.
Okay. And you have a slide, I think, to walk through some of what you've described. Just
we'll come back later. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the start with the reason why we do that, and then this is history. We did it. We did make a surplus. We move on to Richmond Hill, and then Stouffville, and then Markham, and we have now built over almost 2,000 units of LL lease and 1,500 LTC. So all with this model. Now, it's not easy, okay? It sounds like very easy to do it. What we have decided to do is to take foundation as our own developer. We take charge of developing it, not hiring anybody else. We do it, and then we assemble a team of construction people, volunteers. They know what to do, making sure that we follow everything right up. And this is the key. You have to be a developer. And with that in mind, then all the surpluses go into your coffer. And then you can use a coffer to build other whatever. You see, like the one with young co-living, you can do that. Inclusive. You can get advices, you can get everything, built. But you have to have the money first. This is the key. You have no money, you cannot buy land, you cannot hire an architect, nothing. So this is the key that we have to achieve. And so far, we are very successful in that. And this is the reason why I want to bring this up to city to tell them that, hey, you should follow this model and then use all the existing incentive by the government. There are 3 levels of governments are already throw out a lot of money investment to the affordable housing. And my quick calculation is, if you utilize everything that they have, you will be at least 30% below the market value. So use that below market value, sell it to people who are also needing traditional homes. From there, from the traditional buyers, you create all the surplus. Then you can do whatever product you want to do.
Okay.
You want to
listen. We got about 3-4 minutes. I've got to just give make sure I've got time for our last speaker. So
this is how it's done. If it is the model is right, then we can build with all the available tools, reduce costs, and then you make a sales up to 80%, 90% before you move, and then you create a surplus, and then you can do it very quickly if you have a team of expert volunteers. You can do it in 3 or 4 years, depending on the type of construction you have. And then try to build maybe in the city, they have land already available, few sites. I'm giving an example that was 1,000 units, but you can have more. Once you have that, you create a surplus pool, and then you can build all with your own capital for rental, as well as homeless shelters. So this is the way. This is the strategy that I gave the city of Toronto. You were there, Richard, right? So this is what I have for them. Whether they will take this or not, I'm up to them. But the key is they have to be a developer himself.
right. Do you find That's hard. I mean, maybe actually, I'm gonna come back to that question. I'm gonna ask about, because at least two of the models, yours and Andrew's, involve not-for-profit partners, and my question would be around that the level of sophistication. You're saying they need to be a developer. That suggests very high level of sophistication, which I get. It makes sense, and I think that's something that probably many have pointed out, with not-for-profits being not in the game of housing development in any significant capacity for decades now, that capacity has largely diminished and maybe needs to be built up in order for the not-for-profit folks to become developers, to become players again, as they were decades ago. But I'm going to hold that question, because I would not be being fair to Mike LeBay if I didn't give him his 10 minutes, and I better do that now. So Mike, you're up, and Frank, will come back to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Looks good. You're up.
Okay, great. So the points that have been raised so far are very helpful and useful. We tend to want to work at a higher level in terms of what we're doing, because we're trying to create a framework that will let everybody fit in. Now, I've got a notice on my screen saying my internet is unstable, so let's hope it stays.
Why don't you
not
take your
too unstable.
screen on?
So I've been doing housing for the last 45 years.
Keep going. You're good.
Yep. Okay. So 45 years. And the one thing that I've learned that is key is that you have to find innovations and keep piling them on. So one upon the other as you build through what you're doing. And if you're going to be scalable, you want to be available to most.
Okay, I'm going to just pause for a second, Mike. Are we sharing? Can I just ask my colleagues at ULI? Are we sharing this Mike's screens, or is he sharing his own screen?
We're sharing them.
We are sharing them, so that's not a problem. Mike, are you there? I'm going to suggest, Mike, you go out and come back in again. I'm not sure any other way to solve for this internet connection, but maybe you could do that. So let's mute Mike, and I'm going to now go back to a question to Frank very quickly. Frank, I was asking that question, which I won't re-ask because I've already framed it, about the partners that you work with, and you're saying you need developer level sophistication. How do you find that? Is that something that existed in 2008 but doesn't exist today, or do you think you've got the partners that to work with your model that can make this go forward? And I'll probably hold you to about a 2-minute answer if I could.
Yeah, well, actually, we are very lucky that I have been a developer myself, as well as the chairman, who is also a very, very good developer, and we will retire. So we are coming to help. And that's why when I wrote that piece to City, I asked them to assemble retired volunteers who've been in the trade for a long time, giving opinion. And you need someone also that is a whipper that keep the thing going all the time. And then the other thing is you have to have third-party monitor to make sure all the costs are transparent, all the expenses are transparent as well.
Okay, thank you. Have we got Mike back? Not yet. Okay, I'm going to jump to Andrew. I'm going to ask a question. This is Canel's question from earlier. There's a lot that goes beyond compliance and regulatory measures when it comes to implementing green initiatives and accessibility and inclusive features, which of course is the title of your program. However, market economics haven't supported much of this, as many developers perceive it as a cost burden. Are you able to achieve your model because of your available lands, or are you considering implementing similar inclusive measures on your newly acquired lands for development as well? Hopefully that is all clear, that question.
Yes, if I understand it, is it's been difficult for people to, in their financial model, figure out how do you add, if there is an additional cost for accessibility or environmental measures. And I think we're taking the mindset that these challenges are opportunities. And so when we look at accessibility, I think, and I have to give ULI a hat tip for this one. There's a lot of accessibility features that actually are helpful universally throughout your building. So just because you make your kitchen or your bathroom or your light switches, other things more accessible in your suite, that might be born of accommodating in your accessible units and suites. But I think more progressive developers are looking at those as opportunities to provide that throughout their floor plans across their project, because you realize that accessibility is not just about the owner, but it could be about visitors and families and friends that are coming over. And so that's the way I would approach that. And I think environmental standards, again, that's an area that I feel the development community has a lot more experience with over the years, and they have a feeling of what you can afford. I think one of the challenges is if you raise the bar in terms of meeting certain environmental standards and costs, it just by the math raises the costs of the units. And so I think in terms of our focus, we will look at geothermal, we'll look at different initiatives, but because we're focused on affordability and we feel that's a very acute crisis, we wouldn't want to take on innovations or technologies that would make it hard for people to afford to live in our communities.
Frank, maybe this similar question to you, given the large amount of your programs that your product that goes to seniors. Accessibility clearly is a feature, a must be of your product. So in terms of that as a added cost to making your projects work, how big a factor is that? And I have a little bit of information I know I can pass on from something that Andrew was alluding to, that the work that we do at ULI in the accessibility space.
Yeah, we design the suites all accessible for all the seniors, and also we also increased amenity percentage from almost all to up to 15%. With gym, rooms, karaoke, mahjong, whatever, and the garden feature as well, and then the badminton court. So it's quite a number of amenities that we have incorporated, all within the cost that we have. So yeah, enjoying everything, and they also using the area for exercise as well. So back and forth, along hallways, so on. So I think if you guys are interested in coming to see what we have done, we'll be more than welcome.
Well, that was just where I was going to go, actually. I think we'd love to organize a ULI tour to come out and
I'm
visit
back.
one of your projects. Okay, Mike,
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. 1 second, Mike, I'll bring you back in. But Frank, and now that I understand that karaoke might be part of the feature of such a tour, we'll definitely be there. So, okay.
So am I back?
Again. You're back, and it sounds good. Okay, so why don't we put Mike's screen back up, and we've got just a few minutes. We're gonna have to maybe compress you to about 6 minutes, if you can.
Well, as long as it lasts for 5 minutes, I'll be good. Okay, so Let me be quick. Every program, I don't know where I stopped, but every program since 1975 has needed more money to do less units. The scale of the challenge, if we're focusing on financial capacity of government to provide grants and subsidies, we need $1.2 trillion of grants and subsidies. So what we've done with our home share ownership model is we've moved away from the grant and subsidy base.
You'll tell us when we need to move forward slides. Okay, yes.
I will, for sure. It's about 3 more points and then we'll move to the slides. The home ownership model is designed to work in partnership with the private sector, but not to need grants and subsidies. The government programs that ended in 1993 did not eliminate the 10,000 units a year that we need in order to deal with the affordable needs of Toronto. It just means we have a backlog of 300,000 units, which means the city needs to produce 25,000 units a year in order to address this backlog, or at least 10,000 a year to tread water. 5,000 units they're doing so far is not enough. We need more. Our model with other groups participating can move to 20,000 units a year. It's a little bit crazy making that the city focuses on 400 units a year when they should be focusing on more in terms of affordable ownership. Now you're wondering how we do it. Now we've got the first slideshow that I'll go through quickly. So in essence, the layered approach, which you hear from many other sources, but the neat thing about Toronto is they now have policies related to what they're willing to give grants and subsidies on that we can turn into lending that can reach the lower incomes that we're looking for. So we have a community wealth organization, similar in nature to what Trillium does in terms of deferred profits, but we defer 20% is what we're able to do. We have owner's down payment. We're eligible for the waiving of development charges. We treat that as a loan and we repay it because at 20,000 units a year, no municipality can afford to waive their development charges permanently. Municipal land is offered for free for affordable housing. We'll take it as a loan and pay it back when people sell. Property taxes, they're talking about deferrals. We use that to borrow money. We pay back the property taxes when units sell. So everything above the 200,000 in this example is paid back on resale. Therefore, you're carrying 200,000 on a $600,000 purchase. On the right-hand side, you'll see that that means a carrying cost of $1,094 on a 1-bedroom, which allows for a $41,000 average person to carry. Next slide, please. I've done exactly the same thing with a 3-bedroom, but there you're talking about 400,000. You'll notice we use CMHC, but we also can use Infrastructure Ontario or credit unions for our source of borrowing that the units carry. In this example, you're dealing with $2,000 a month or an income of 78,000. Next slide, please. I guess I'm going through it fast enough. Okay. So this is the last slide. It's the important slide because not everybody understands exactly what the incomes are that we're trying to serve. So what this has done is I've taken the 2024, 80% of the average market rents in Toronto, which people are familiar with. I've showed what the qualifying income is for those, and we relate then to the qualifying income. 30% of our units are then offered to people whose incomes average 38, 48, 58, 68, and 78 in this example, noticing that all of those incomes are below the incomes that qualify for affordable rental, which gives us access to affordable rental programs to borrow to help our purchasers own. We then also propose 30% of the units going to incomes that are 10% below the qualifying income under the city's affordable ownership program, so 56, 71, 89, 107. And then we have 20% that are attainable, $20,000 a year higher than that. And then we have 20% of the units that can go to any income at all. What that means is we have a blended income community that can be built at any scale. So for instance, we're working on Lawrence Heights, which is 3,000 units. When you blend the incomes across the entire project, then you're able to have a very viable community, much like the St. Lawrence neighborhood, which I lived in for many years. And in the case of a situation like that, we can offer 600 of those units as rent-to-own opportunities for TCHC tenants, all within a program that doesn't need grants and subsidies, just borrowing that gets paid back when people sell, all of which is available through current city policies if they'll just expand the number of units they're targeting. How's that, Richard?
That's pretty great. That's pretty great. Listen, I mean, I think we're probably not going to be able to get into another question here, but just before we wrap up, and if people can hang on just for a second longer, I hope what you saw today just gives you a sense of the fact that there is a lot of creativity that perhaps could be a bigger feature in the housing affordability toolkit that we deploy across the private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. And
So
I think it's very exciting to see these examples. I know we probably haven't fully gone under the hood on all of them, but I think you've got a little flavor of what the possibility is. Incredible leadership that we're seeing from Robert, from Andrew, from Frank, from Mike, and others that we haven't featured this week. And I think you can rely on ULI in the coming months and year ahead and beyond to be spotlighting this kind of creativity, because this is clearly something that we need, and there's a lot more that will be featuring in the year ahead. I'm going to also maybe just ask my staff just to put up the couple of upcoming programming that we have. Would like you to know that next week we have our WLI Fall Social, Women's Leadership Fall Social. It's not just for women, it's for women and men. And these are always a lot of fun. So we hope that you'll come and join us at Dialogue, who's hosting it at the Canadian Broadcasting Centre next week. And also we just this week posted that our third annual ski day is now open for registration, and we look forward to seeing some of you in a fun day in February. So keep those in mind. But of course, there'll be a lot more programming coming your way in the coming weeks and into the new year. So with that, I wish everybody a happy weekend, and thank you again to our panel.